today. We're going to be doing a little web broadcast with Alan Berg. If you don't know who Alan Berg is, he's a good friend of mine. I've met him at the DJ conventions. And the thing about Alan is he's kind of a guru when it comes to sales. And I've been using a lot of his stuff lately and a lot of his consulting. And so I got Alan with me here today. So Alan, say hello to everybody.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to us.
And so, Alan, I brought you in today because we want to do a mastermind here in Utah, and we want to let people know what a mastermind workshop is,
right?
What the value of it. But before we do that, can you tell us more about you and what you do?
Sure. Thanks. Well, thanks for the opportunity. I'm a business speaker. I'm a business speaker, a consultant, and an author. And I speak mostly to smaller businesses, so people with anywhere from one, where it's just you, to a handful, to dozens, to some larger that maybe venues and people that might have groups where maybe 50 or 100 people. But most of my people that I work with are smaller businesses. I have worked with speakers before as well. And because I'm a member of the National Speakers Association, I'm a certified speaking professional. And for those of you who don't know what that is, whatever your industry is, whatever the highest earned designation you can get, this is our equivalent of it. It's a long and arduous process, and only 12% of professional speaker members of national speakers and global speakers federations worldwide have this. It's a long process, involves a whole lot of things and documentation and money and how much money you make and stuff like that. So I travel around the world speaking at wedding-related conferences about business. I don't speak about colors, trends, or styles. I speak about business, sales, marketing, websites. I've written 2 books, working on my 3rd book right now. My first book was about websites, called If Your Website Was an Employee, Would You Fire It? My second book is called Your Attitude for Success, which is just what it says. They're both in their 2nd edition. They're in English, ahora disponible en español. They're also available in Spanish. Working on my sales book now. It's called Shut Up and Sell More. And that's when I learned how to sell a lot more, is when my sales manager told me to stop talking. So a little bit of background: I consult for Wedding Wire, the largest wedding website group in the world. They're in 13 countries now, 14 countries. I was 11 years at The Knot, which at the time was the largest wedding website in the world. I was vice president of sales and other things. Published 2 wedding magazines before that. Then I was in sales before that, selling advertising. I managed a retail store. I installed burglar alarms. And when this wasn't like this, I played in a rock and roll band. Actually, a few of them. Still play keyboards now as well.
You also sold cars too.
What's that?
You also sold cars too.
I did. And that's where I really learned how to sell. No big grand plan to sell cars. One of my best friends, whose father had a used car dealership for years and years, when Chrysler was trying to get out of the hole one of the previous times there with Lea Iacocca, his father bought a Chrysler dealership. And my friend called me up and said, "Hey, you want to sell cars?" And I was like, "Cool." That was my 22-year-old answer. Cool. That would be cool to sell cars. And I did. I ended up being one of the top 50 Chrysler salesmen in the country, and the national product information champion for all Chrysler salesmen in the country 4 years in a row. So I really kind of cut my teeth in there. And a lot of my sales training came from that, because it is such a reactive business. Somebody walks in, they're going to buy a car, they're going to buy it soon. But I was different. I was a magna cum laude college graduate in marketing and accounting, selling cars. That's not your typical one. Typical where I was in New York, you were a retired fireman, a retired policeman. That was your career. Car salesperson was really those people. And I was the anomaly for sure. But I learned how to treat people the way I wanted to be treated. And one of the most important things that we'll talk about in this mastermind group is to stop selling and help people buy. Yeah. And the Shut Up and Sell More came from that. The quick story was, I had just won my first national championship of all Chrysler salesmen. And I had the credentials now. I could say I knew more about these cars than anybody. And my sales manager told me that I did, but he also told me to shut up, because I was telling people stuff they didn't need to know. And one of the most important lessons that you can learn in sales is, if you will give your customer the chance, they will tell you everything you need to know to make the sale. But we want to tell them. We want to tell them all the great stuff that we can do. And the thing is, they just don't care about all that stuff. They care about some of it. but they don't care about all of it. And here we are trying to tell them all the great stuff that we do. And they're thinking, well, why aren't you asking me what I want? Why aren't you listening to what I have to say? And you'll actually sell more in less time if you learn to shut up. And it really, that's where I got my lesson. I went from being a pretty good salesperson to one of the top 50 in the country in Chrysler sales with over 90% customer satisfaction rating. You needed to have over 90% to be in that group. I was well over that, but you had to do so. I proved you could have volume and you could have customer satisfaction at the same time. So where you've seen me, Rob, is at the DJ conferences, but I speak at Wedding MBA and I speak at the special event show and Cater Source. And I've actually spoken in 7 countries this year at wedding related conferences, 4 of them twice. I just did a Mumbai, India, Dubai, in England, Ireland trip in 12 days.
Jeez.
Yeah, needed some sleep after that. And the funny thing is, talking to people in India and in Dubai and England and Ireland, I really didn't say much different. What I did was talk about how to have a better business. Now, a wedding is different in Salt Lake. We've spoken about this.
Yes.
Wedding is way different in Salt Lake than it is here in New Jersey.
Yes.
But it's also different in New Orleans, and it's also different in Chicago, and it's different in Alabama. And I've spoken in cities like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I've spoken in Las Vegas and in New York and Dublin, Ireland, and England, and Dubai, and whatever. So what I found is that wedding businesses are really pretty much the same. A wedding business is a business. I'm a speaker. I have a speaking business. You're an entertainer. You have an entertainment business. Our businesses aren't that much different. We need to identify our target audience, find out where they are, find that we have a product that is going to satisfy a need, desire, problem, whatever it is that they have, and then show them that we're the best outcome is going to come from hiring us, and then provide the best experience that we can for them. And really, there's not a lot of difference there between what I'm doing and what you're doing. That's why I've spoken to speakers. I'm actually on the board of my New Jersey chapter of the National Speakers Association. We're the NSA, for those of you who are unsure of that. We're the other NSA. We're the ones that speak, not the ones that listen. So just want to get that clear. But I believe in associations. I believe in ongoing learning. I believe that the businesses that are most successful are the ones that show up to these meetings. So when you go to the DJ conference, the businesses that are struggling generally don't show up. The businesses that are doing okay and the ones that are doing really well. I think you'll agree, Rob, it's really interesting. You go to the DJ conference and you see some of the most successful entertainment companies in the country every time. Mm-hmm. And not just because they're speaking. Ones that aren't speaking, they show up every time because we're smart enough to know that there's more to know.
Yes.
Whereas the people that they don't show up. They're afraid to spend the money. They look at it as an expense instead of an investment. Mm-hmm. I know, Rob, you've joined the NSA chapter there in Salt Lake City. I have on my calendar the national meeting for NSA, at least one regional meeting, the CSP summit if I can make it, my local chapter meetings. I mean, I spend thousands and thousands of dollars a year on my ongoing learning. Yeah. And yet I'm already in that group, right? I'm already in that CSP group, top 12% in the world. And I know that every time I go there, I'm gonna have aha moments just blasting off all the time because I'm smart enough to know that I don't know it all.
Right.
So what our mastermind is going to be is companies bring me in to do a full day of training. And that can be costly. I business just did it last week in Miami, Florida. And then I had a couple of weeks before that, I had a group of over 7 businesses in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that got together because they said no one of them either wanted to or could afford to make the investment to have me come and spend the day with them. So they got together and did that. That's what the mastermind is. The week before that, I was in Staten Island, New York with 2 very successful entertainment companies. And the 2 of them brought me in. Now, we were 16 people because they had their people. They invited their videographer, their wedding planner, their event designer. So they invited some other people. But it was only 2 companies that shared the cost. And then I've had individual businesses do it. And I've had 5, 6, 7, 8. Generally up to maybe 8 or 10 businesses is what I call a mastermind. More than that, we're starting to get into a small conference. And the difference with a conference and a mastermind is conversation versus presentation.
Yeah.
Mastermind is conversation. Let's talk. And it's not just my ideas. Let's talk. And if Rob has an idea for you, he's going to share that idea for you because you say, hey, this is an issue I'm having. And you go, what, I had that last year and this is what I did. And I'm a facilitator as well as an educator with that. So that's kind of the idea of a mastermind. As far as what we'll speak about, the topics that we generally want to cover are things that are going to get you better conversion. And conversion is this kind of umbrella word, which means action. If I go to your website and I don't contact you, that's lack of conversion. If I get more people to contact you, that's conversion. If I go to a site where you're listed, Wedding Wire, The Knot, speaker might be listed on a website, or where there's a directory type thing or whatever. But if I go where you're listed and I don't click on you, click through, whatever it is, I'm not taking action. If I email you and I don't get to the next point, which is an appointment, which could be a virtual like we're doing, or a physical appointment, that's lack of conversion. So again, if I'm a speaking business, I get an email that says, hey, Alan, how much is it to come and speak? Just like you get an email that says, hey, Rob, how much is it to DJ my wedding, school party, whatever it is. So when we get that email, conversion is converting that to the next step. The next step is what? Well, let's take that email and turn it into Skype, Google Hangout, phone call, physical if it's local, whatever. But let's have a next conversation and turn that into business. What is business? Depends upon. My business could be buy a book, buy a CD, download an MP3. I have a membership site called Wedding Industry Insiders. You could become a member. You could hire me to review your website. You could hire me to consult with you or come and speak or whatever. That's my conversion. Your conversion is, let's turn it into a conversation, which then leads to having me do one of my services for you.
Yes.
So conversion is what we're going to talk about. And we're going to do that through email, talking to you how to do better email. Because Rob, you and I, we're different generations. We're kindred spirits, but we're different generations. I get that you're at least a couple of years younger than me. I got it. So email for me was not organic because I was doing business before it.
Yeah. And
it showed up one day. And we started using it, not for business initially. Initially, we used email. Okay, this is kind of cool. I got a computer. I have dial-up. This is kind of cool. And then no instructions, right? That was it. And then we started using it for business. Once again, no instructions. I can show you I call it 8 tips for better digital conversations. I can show you how to streamline your emails so you'll get better conversion, meaning better responses, turning into appointments, turning into sales with these simple 8 tips. And then we'll talk about how to improve your website for conversion. We'll also talk about sales, the sales appointment itself. What do you do in the appointment to have them maybe buy on the first time when they're buying on the second or the third or the fourth time? How do you follow up better? When should you follow up? How much should you follow up? And we'll talk through all of these. And then the overriding thing is the customer experience. People are not buying from you because you know how to play songs. They're buying from you because they want you. And they want you because you create an experience. You don't have a monopoly on being a good DJ.
No.
You don't have a monopoly on being a nice guy. You certainly don't have a monopoly on the equipment that you have because I can go get that tomorrow. So what makes you different is that they want Rob. And people have said to me, Alan, when did you know you had a brand? I said, that was easy. When I was still at the Knot and I was speaking, I was the main business-to-business speaker. When I was there, people would ask for the Knot to send someone to the conference. And then all of a sudden, one day, about, 2004-ish, 2005, people started saying, can Alan come and speak? And when they wanted Alan to come and speak, not somebody, I had a brand. That was my brand. It's like, if I want Rob to DJ my wedding, you have a brand. If I want someone to DJ my wedding, somebody does it cheaper. Yeah. They always do. There's always somebody cheaper. When we started, we were the cheaper, right? and then we learned the value of what we're doing. I found that the higher, that's another thing we'll talk about, by the way, is top-down selling, how to make more money from the gigs that you're already doing. I found that the more I raised my price, the more desirable I became. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole economic thing called Veblen goods about that, but there's a whole economic theory about why that is. And if you're a little bit more, you're only a little better. Yes. If you're a lot more, they're like, wow, it must be a lot better. And then, of course, you have to deliver that on top of that. So I'm going to show you how to, when you have pricing power, because most people do and they just don't take it. So I'll show you when you have pricing power and then how to use that in terms of raising your average sale, because we're all going to run out of inventory, being time. How many days, what are the most popular days to get married in Salt Lake City? There's only so many of those. And once those are filled in, you're out of inventory. So you can't make more money unless you go hire more DJs or raise your average sale.
And so my goal for this event is to be able to have you come and address our specific problem here in Utah. And so hopefully I'll get you prepared with all those problems that we see, especially with our brides we have our brides that are destination brides that I often work with, but we also have our local brides who are looking to get a deal because everybody has a lower price point here in Utah. And so we want to really kind of work on that.
Right. Well, whoever the group is, I will survey you ahead of time.
Oh, great.
To get an idea of what you're looking for. And then I'll kind of bring that all together, and most of the stuff is going to be the same thing or variations on the theme, but this way we can be sure to address them. I'll also give you a little bit of advanced work to do, bringing me all your printed materials. I want to see your business cards, postcards, brochures, all that kind of stuff. It's funny, yesterday I was, before I was headed to a holiday party, I was sitting in a hotel room in Washington, D.C., writing another chapter for my book, talking about marketing materials and talking about branding and things like that. So, I mean, you've seen all my marketing materials, Rob. They're always a little bit different, a little bit bigger, good quality printing, rounded corners, things that are consistent with my brand. And we want to do that for you as well. So you bring all your marketing materials and we'll take a look at those. Some samples of your emails, reviews. I have a little assignment for you with reviews because I want to show you how to use reviews differently than you're using them now. And they're going to help you define the why. I don't know if you get this yet, Rob, but there's something called Voices of Experience, which is for NSA members, where it's audio recordings every month that the hosts will do, and they'll interview people and stuff. And I was listening on the way home from DC today, and they mentioned it again. It's a subject that comes up in so many different places these days, is the why. What is it? Simon Sinek, I think, is one of the most popular TED Talks ever done. Simon Sinek, and he talks about getting to the why, the golden circle, I think he calls it, but it's the why. What you do, every other DJ does. Why you is unique. Same thing for me. What do? I prepare, and I know my material, and I get on stage, and I dress well, and all those. That's my what. You don't hire me for the what. You hire me for the why. And if you can't tell the difference between me and somebody else, then you should hire somebody cheaper. Because if you can't tell the difference, if you can, you have to hire me. And that's what I want everybody to get to, is the why you. If you don't understand the why you, then they're going to just look and say, well, but you're 20% more, 50% more, in my case, 100, 200% more than everybody else. Why? Well, if I can't tell you why, you shouldn't pay it.
So the date we are looking at is January 19th. We want to bring you in on that day. It's a Tuesday. We're thinking it's going to be all day, kind of from like 9 to 5 for that.
Yeah, it would generally, 9:30 to 4-ish or whatever. I don't put a time limit on it because I don't live in SLC, so I can't turn around and drive home. But I also don't want to cut it off. I've had some of these, we've run till 3:30. We're done. We did everything we wanted to do. We're done. Also, the size of the group will do it. I had one just recently. We had to cut it off at 6 o'clock because the venue said, you got to go. So that was it. We were done there. So it's a fluid thing. We're going to get done what we need to get done in whatever time it takes. And if it takes a little bit longer, I've had it where some people might, they say, listen, I got to go pick up my kids or whatever. That's fine. And then I'm always open to you for questions after. So when we do a mastermind, I encourage people, as you sit back and think about it and you go, okay, how do I apply that to my business? That's not going to happen necessarily in the moment. So a week later, a month later, I've had it months later where somebody has emailed and said, hey, can I ask you a question? The answer is yes, of course. And you're not going to get a bill for that. If you want billable time, you want to get on a call and you want to have an hour of my time, yeah, we can do that on the clock. But if you have a question from our mastermind, or you updated a page on your website and you said, hey, could you, take a look? Is this what we were talking about? please, I want you to do it. It's all part of it, because if you don't take action, talk about conversion. If there's no conversion from our mastermind day and you don't take action, then we've wasted both of our time, because you're not taking any action. And that's what I want you to do. I heard something at NSA years ago, when you take all the notes, you go to a meeting and you take notes, and you take notes and you take notes, and you go back and you have your bookshelf behind you, right? And you put the notes on the bookshelf. Yeah. Well, it's called shelf help.
Yeah.
That is the shelf help section, because that's all it's helping is your shelf. So we want you to actually take action on that. So the reason that Rob and I are doing this is because the opportunity to have this kind of close contact with people that are like-minded, success-minded, wanting to improve the business, wanting to help each other, which is, raises all ships over there. That's what we're trying to bring. And we've been talking about this for a while, and January 19th is going to be the date. However, we can't have, 50 people there. We're going to have up to maybe 8. We could probably get up to 10 businesses if we needed to, 2 people per business. And, if we have 6, 7, 8 businesses, that's probably right in the sweet spot there. But I did have 16 people at this one in Staten Island. I had, what did we have? We had about a dozen people in Pittsburgh just last week. So, size-wise, I think we're good. But you got to tell Rob that you want to do this, because you want to get in there before we close it out.
Perfect. So once again, that date is January 19th. We would love to see anybody and everybody from Utah there. We're looking for some small businesses to come and join us in this mastermind group. I'll be there. Mm-hmm. And so if anybody else, we even are opening it up to anybody in NSA. Yeah. If any small businesses in NSA that want to be a part of our mastermind, I'll imagine all the same principles apply to those. Yeah.
And I've spoken at the NSA conference a couple of times already. I've spoken at my local chapter before. So, I obviously know the speaking business, because, it is my business as well. And the parallels are very, very strong between them. So, tell Rob you want to do it. Let's get signed up. And gosh, it's a month away from yesterday. Wow.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. I look forward to seeing you there.
All right. Well, thank you, Alan, for joining us. And hopefully you guys can join us at our Mastermind Workshop. Please let me know. I'm organizing this. I'm going to be able to get the numbers together. And then once we get the people who are dedicated, we'll get you in contact with Alan so that we can put this together. Once again, thank you, Alan, for joining me.
Thanks, Rob.
Bye-bye.
Bye.